Hey there, Carnage Cravers. Welcome back to Carnage Corner. It is time for another episode of KKWR. I know it's been a couple of weeks since I actually came to you with a show. I apologize for that. Everybody over here in the Carnage Kingdom has been sick as dogs, but we're all doing much better now, and I want to get back into breaking down what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling. And as usual, we're going to start with this week's episode of NXT. NXT opened up with Billie Kay and Peyton Royce versus Ruby Riott. Ruby asked for this match last week because she was tired of fighting one of them and having the other one interfere to cause her to lose. So she wanted to take them both on. William Regal initially said, no, you need a tag team partner, but Ruby came out without a partner, okay? She started trying to do the match on her own, and while the match was going on, Nikki Cross, that crazy lady from Insanity, who, by God, she sells crazy, and I am buying it, holy crap. She comes out of the crowd, and, she kind of stalks her way up to the ring, and tags Ruby, gets in, beats the holy hell out of Billie and Peyton, tags out, and leaves. And Ruby, she hits her finish and gets the pin. A little odd, it's definitely highlighting how insane that Nikki Cross seems to be, just kooky dukes. So anyways, from there we move on to an interview with No Way Jose. No Way Jose saying that he wants to basically be the one to stop Lars Sullivan. Good luck with that, by the way. And apparently we're going to get that next week. Then we go into Johnny Gargano versus Riddick Moss. And of course Moss's tag team partner, whose name I don't remember because it's not important. Basically, Gargano, he won this match despite there being interference. That's my phone going off in the background. How wonderful. And despite interference, Johnny Gargano was able to win this match. Okay. After that, the Street Profits came out. I hate these guys. I cannot stand these guys. They came out and they went the tag match against the Ely Brothers. I like the Ely Brothers much more than I like the Street Profits, but of course the Street Profits won. They're the ones acting like morons, so obviously they're going to get the push. And then we go into an interview with William Regal, and of course about the future of the NXT Women's Championship, with Asuka having surrendered it. So we will see what happens with that. Regal did not give us any definitive information. So here's hoping that we'll get some sort of tournament, or maybe a good they recently did a five woman elimination match on SmackDown, I think it was. I think one of those might work well in NXT as well. Whatever they give us to decide a new champion, I just hope it's well done. Then we moved into the main event, which was Wolfgang versus Pete Dunne for the United Kingdom Championship, which, does anybody else hate the way the United Kingdom Championship looks? I cannot stand the title belts today. With the exception of, the Intercontinental and maybe the United States title, I don't like a single way any of these belts look. What happened to the old school way that a belt was supposed to look? It's supposed to be made out of gold, and I don't know. I guess I'm old-fashioned. That being said, Pete Dunne retains his United Kingdom Championship. Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole come out again, and they go down to the ring. They try and intimidate Pete Dunne. There is no intimidating Pete Dunne. The bruiserweight goes straight at them, but the numbers start to get to him. Wolfgang comes to help, and Pete Dunne takes the opportunity to grab his belt and bolt. And that was how we ended NXT. Now, the day before NXT, we had 205 Live. 205 Live was somewhat interesting. We started off with an interview with Rich Swann, talking about his feud with TJP, which is boring. Rich Swann is a great competitor. He's a wonderful athlete. You know, he has energy about him. People think he's fun. I say people think because I don't, but that's neither here nor there. But he's not your best talker. And neither is the guy who interrupts his interview, which is TJP. Again, not the best talker. These guys seem to be much more concerned with how many flips and dives they can do. You know, more concerned with that than they are with whether or not they can actually, you know, sell the fans on a match. But that being said, we did have the rubber match between TJP and Rich Swann, and Swann won the match. Okay, I'd tell you what happened in the match, but to be completely honest, I kind of zoned out on it. I lost interest in it because, I mean, it's nothing means a thing. Oh, here's a flip. I just did a crazy flip and I missed you, but I popped right back up to my feet. Fuck off. Sell, goddammit. Sell. Little ring psychology, please. Is it too much to ask for just a little psychology in a damn wrestling match? All right, I'm going to move on before I go on a tangent. All right, so Cedric Alexander and Mustafa Ali were backstage. Mustafa talking about how angry he would be if Enzo had stolen a victory from him like Enzo did to Cedric Alexander. And, you know, and Cedric Alexander was laid back about it. He took responsibility for it. He said, Enzo caught me slipping. It's my fault. And, you know, Mustafa is, you know, all and angry and wants to, basically saying he would blame everybody else, which, you know, is that really a surprise that Mustafa Ali would be pissed off and blame everybody else for, you know, his shortcomings? I mean, that's not really a surprise to anybody with a brain in their head, is it? Moving on from there. Oh, yes. While they were backstage talking, Brian Kendrick came out to interrupt. And basically, you know, this was to hype the idea of Brian Kendrick and Cedric Alexander having a match later in the night. And Kendrick basically told Cedric that his problem is that he, you know, essentially lacks a killer instinct. And so it's basically just setting the table for the match later tonight. We go to break. We come back from break. Drew Gulak is in the ring. I like watching Drew Gulak wrestle. Drew Gulak's wrestling is great, very mat-based, very technical. The character that he's playing makes me laugh because it's ridiculous. But he's in the ring, and he, you know, he wants to finish his slideshow from a couple of weeks ago. And the things he will not that he will not have in the new 205 Live in order to make it better. Well, the third thing on his list was interrupting. And of course he gets interrupted. So, you know, and naturally, you know he's going to get interrupted when he says he doesn't want any interruptions. So, naturally he gets interrupted. Breezango comes out. And I was surprised to see them on 205 Live, as I'm sure was everyone else. But Breezango comes out. They talk to Drew Gulak. They tell him that they're the fashion police, and they are there because they've gotten many complaints of a fashion faux pas, and that they're looking for a Captain Underpants, which of course is funny because Drew Gulak is wearing tights and kind of resembles the cartoon character Captain Underpants. So the fashion police arrest Drew Gulak with furry pink handcuffs, no less. I laughed. It's ridiculous. It's so stupid, but I did laugh. So apparently they're doing their job. Moving on from there, we had Brian Kendrick versus Cedric Alexander. Was a pretty good match. Brian Kendrick is a fantastic worker, good psychology, great athleticism, fantastic. Jack Gallagher comes out, and then this was interesting, because Gallagher comes out, you think he's going to go after Brian Kendrick, right? He attacks Cedric Alexander with William III, In case you do not know, William III is his umbrella. Not, okay, so it's his umbrella, and he attacks Cedric Alexander with it. And that was confusing enough, but afterwards he shakes Kendrick's hand. And that's the last sight we see before we go, before 205 Live ends. So apparently we've got ourselves a good old-fashioned heel turn with Jack Gallagher. Well, it's about time they did a proper heel turn with somebody. Damn. So, moving on from there, we're going to SmackDown. SmackDown started with Kevin Owens coming out and running his mouth, calling out Vince McMahon. And, Vince McMahon does not come out. Shane McMahon's music hits. Kevin starts losing his mind, screaming, "No! No!" And then, but it looks like Shane McMahon for about half a second, and then you realize it's Dolph Ziggler. Ziggler's starting to get just a tiny bit annoying with this stuff. But in either case, Dolph and Kevin have a laugh. Dolph goes back in the back. Kevin continues to talk his shit, and Daniel Bryan comes out and basically tells Kevin to laugh it up while he can because Mr. McMahon is coming. Our first match of the evening is AJ Styles versus Ty Dillinger for the U.S. title. Good match. AJ wins, which is good. I don't think I would have been all that pleased with Ty Dillinger as the U.S. champion. I'm not sold on him like everybody else seems to be for whatever reason. You know, just because somebody tells you they're the perfect 10 doesn't mean they are. I mean, for instance, Rosie O'Donnell could tell you she's a perfect 10. Are you gonna believe her? Like, really? Think about it. Alright, moving on from there. After the match, Baron Corbin comes out, attacks AJ Styles, informs him that, hey, next week I'm going to answer your open challenge. You know, I mean, it's the attack is great and everything, but what is up with people telling people, hey, I'm gonna be your opponent next week, when it's, you know, like the whole idea of an open challenge is it makes the person look good because they're prepared for whoever it is. But you're warning them. That's like saying, hey, that's like the time John Cena had Money in the Bank and he goes, I'm going to cash this in next week. Well, what the hell, dude? You just gave up your advantage. What the hell is wrong with you? We go backstage to an interview with Rusev, who basically cried about being treated like a loser when he went back home. Well, you lost, buddy. Then we had the WWE Champion Jinder Mahal come out. He said all kinds of stuff about Shinsuke Nakamura. Yeah, him and the Singh brothers made fun of Nakamura. Nakamura must not have been there because Nakamura didn't come out. So, yeah. We go backstage, and we see Kevin talking to some guy, like he's explaining to him all the things that are going to change. And then he goes over and he talks to Sami Zayn. And I don't like Sami Zayn. Moving on from there, we had the New Day versus the Usos in a street fight for the Tag Team Championships. It was Kofi and Big E who participated in the match. And the New Day wins. Why do you keep putting tag titles on this gyrating gaggle of goofs? I can't stand the New Day. I don't understand why people like them. I do not understand. What is the appeal of watching three grown men come out and freaking gyrate around like fucking high school whores? Where is the appeal in that? They look like idiots. Oh, New Day is once again SmackDown Tag Team Champions. Whoop-de-doo. Moving on from there, Naomi challenging Natalya for the Women's Championship. Carmella was on commentary for this one. She had James Ellsworth on a leash. Not touching that one. Just going to leave it alone. So, anyways, Naomi and Natalya, they have themselves a match. Natalya wins the match. Thank God. If I never see that damn light bright belt again, it'll be too soon. Oh, and then we had a backstage segment with English and Owens, and English singing the theme song for the new Kevin Owens show, which is supposedly what SmackDown's going to become once Kevin sues everybody in the WWE. This was unnecessary. It was completely unnecessary. Dolph Ziggler comes out as himself. And, you know, he complains about not being a star and whatnot. Then he talks about how people with these elaborate entrances who can't go in the ring are stars and he's not. And he doesn't like it. So, naturally, he goes back into the back and comes out to Bayley's music like he's Bayley. Dolph might need to see a therapist. He might be having an identity crisis, possibly even a gender confusion going on. You know, this is the second time he's come out pretending to be a member of the women's roster. First it was Naomi, now it is Bayley. Dolph is a very confused man. I think he needs psychological help, in all seriousness. And to better prove my point, after that he went back in the back and came out again as if he was the Ultimate Warrior, which, I mean, that's a little disrespectful to the deceased, but okay. I'm sure Warrior's wife was not pleased about that. I don't know. It's just, Dolph needs some help. Can we get some help for Dolph? Seriously, like, he needs to, maybe he can go see Dean Ambrose's psychologist. Like, seriously. That being said, the Hype Bros had a match with Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin. Surprise, surprise, Gable and Benjamin win. Of course, Zack Ryder was frustrated with the situation and stormed out of the ring. I think we're probably going to see the end of the Hype Bros sooner rather than later. And after that, of course, we saw right before we went to break, we saw that Vince was there because he was in the back talking to Daniel Bryan. We got no audio on this. Go to break, come back, Owens is in the ring, and Vince comes out. And Vince really sets Kevin straight. Because, you know, Vince basically tells Kevin, you want to sue me? You want to sue the WWE? Go ahead. Because as soon as you do, I'm going to call up your lawyer. Hopefully you'll be there so they can put me on speakerphone, and I'm going to tell you that you're fired. I'm not going to try and do the Vince, you're fired. No. And then the legal, or by the time the case actually goes to court, it'll be years. And by then, you'll be bankrupt. So it was a good promo on the part of Vince. Vince let us know that Shane and Kevin were going to be having a Hell in a Cell match, but he did not tell us when. And then Kevin gets Vince to give him his word that he can attack, that he would be allowed to beat a McMahon senseless if they are being antagonistic. And of course, Vince, thinking that he's talking about the match with Shane, agrees to this. They shake hands. Vince is very clearly still talking shit to Kevin, and Kevin headbutts him. And of course, Vince starts bleeding. Pretty sure that they scraped at Vince's forehead with a blade before he went out there so that the skin would break easier. Because, I mean, Kevin definitely made impact. It did not look like he made impact that hard. And also, there was clear lines where it started. So I think the skin got treated ahead of time. I mean, it only makes sense. But, yeah, so Vince is bleeding, and then and then Kevin super kicks him and eventually hits him with a frog splash, and basically Kevin messed Vince up. And it's funny because you're watching it and you wonder, everybody in the back works for this guy. You think they'd come out and help, but of course that's not the way it's written, because it's for the story. It's not like it's really Kevin beating up Vince. I hope I'm not breaking any hearts. If you're on here, I'm assuming you know that pro wrestling is a show, not actual combat. That's not to say it's not actually dangerous, because it is, but you know what I'm trying to say here, damn it. So, and that was how we ended SmackDown. So I do look forward to seeing next week's SmackDown. I'm sure Shane McMahon is going to get a measure of revenge on the part of his father. So, moving into Monday Night Raw. They started Monday Night Raw. Of course, Raw was on September 11th. And they started Monday Night Raw with a moment of silence, as they should. And right after the moment of silence, we went into a match, which was Roman Reigns versus Jason Jordan. Another great showing by Jason Jordan. Roman looking very arrogant, as I'm sure he's supposed to, but Jordan looked like money. This kid is fantastic. I really am. I think it will not be long before we see probably the Intercontinental title on this kid. So, Reigns won the match. Naturally, they're not going to have him lose. He's moving into working with Cena. And Reigns did shake his hand afterwards. But he wouldn't shake his hand beforehand. So, this is like the show of arrogance and disrespect and whatnot. So, but Reigns did shake his hand afterwards. And Cena comes out, just like Reigns did to him last week. And Cena and Reigns go back and forth. I swear to God, hell's froze over, because I'm pulling for John Cena on this one. I never thought I'd see the day, but I'm really pulling for John Cena on this one. Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman would come out after break, call out Braun. Braun comes out, and there's no stopping Braun. Braun comes out, goes after Brock. Brock manages a German suplex Braun Strowman. Braun no-sells it, lands on his shoulders and pops up to his feet. Brock looked like he's seen a damn ghost, and then Braun took him apart. I worry that Braun being so dominant over Brock means we're going to see Brock win at No Mercy. I really am hoping to see Braun win the Universal title. That being said, Rollins and Ambrose were on commentary for a match that was supposed to happen between Gallows and Anderson versus Sheamus and Cesaro. That match didn't really happen because it broke down into a three-way beatdown between the three teams. So backstage we see Ambrose and Rollins. They want to have a match with both teams. Angle tells them, no, find yourself 2 tag team partners. We'll have an 8-man tag team match for the main event. So then we find out that Asuka is coming to Raw, which is fantastic. I really thought she would. I didn't see her going to SmackDown, because once they bring back Charlotte's going to rule the roost on SmackDown. But I really think that Asuka and Alexa Bliss can really tear it up over on Monday Night Raw. So Nia backstage with Alexa complaining about Asuka. Turns out we're going to get Nia versus Alexa next week on Raw. Then we had Cena versus Strowman, and Cena won by DQ because Strowman brutalized Cena. Smashed him into the steps, used the steps as a weapon. This was good because neither man looked weak. Cena kept fighting. Cena looked good, but they didn't make Braun look weak, which is good because Braun is going into working with Brock Lesnar. They did a good job of keeping both men at the very least where they were, if not elevating. I think Braun got elevated and Cena stayed where he was. And let's be honest, Cena doesn't need elevating. Okay? Cena's been on top for 15 years. He don't need elevating. And then we had the back in the backstage, Dean and Seth were looking for partners. Having trouble finding partners. They ended up finding the Hardy Boys to be their partners. We go to the ring. The Miz is in the ring with his Miztourage to make an announcement. Turns out Miz and Maryse are having a baby, and this is legit. This is a shoot. They are actually having a baby. Good for them. Happy for them. Enzo interrupts this. Back and forth. Miz really shoots on Enzo. And it's pretty funny because that little troll is probably the most annoying person on the damn planet. And Miz really puts him in his place. But this leads to a match. And, there's Enzo talking a lot of shit during the match. And Miz, very dominant, makes Enzo look like crap. And but Enzo basically then insinuates that Miz's child is not really Miz's child, and insinuating that Maryse is unfaithful, and so Enzo wins by disqualification because Miz and the rest of the Miztourage beat the holy hell out of him and leave him laying. So, and then of course we moved into the 8-man tag team match, which, I mean, anytime you have an 8-man tag team match, there's so much going on. It was good. They got all great competitors in there. Sheamus, Cesaro, Gallows, Anderson, great competitors. Rollins, Ambrose, and the Hardys obviously are great competitors. Great matches. Rollins got the win by pinning Carl Anderson, and that was the wrap up to Raw. So we've got one more week before we hit No Mercy. That's our next pay-per-view. I am really looking forward to No Mercy. I'm looking forward to Cena versus Reigns, Braun versus Brock. I'm curious to see how long Miz will hang on to the Intercontinental title now that we know that eventually Maryse is going to be having to take time off because she can't stay in the ring or even around the ring once she's, ready to pop. And beyond that, I'm sure Miz is going to want to take a little bit of time when his child's born. So I would imagine that the Miz will be losing the Intercontinental title sometime in the near future. So we'll be interested to see that. I'm willing to bet he'll end up losing it to Jason Jordan. So that being said, I am Ken Carnage. Thank you for joining me on KKWR. And until next time, Carnage is right around